please call the roll.
Freeholder Danicola.
Here.
Freeholder Felice.
Present.
Freeholder Gans.
Aye.
Freeholder Sullivan.
Here.
Freeholder Voss.
Here.
Freeholder Zor.
Here.
Chairman Tinelli.
Here. Evidence of quorum is present. Everyone please rise to the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing as we observe a moment of silence in memory of Phyllis Scott, who served in 1981 as the county's affirmative action officer, investigating employees' complaints of bias and monitoring county policies. She was active in organizations ranging from the Coalition of Black Women to the Fair Housing Council of Bergen County to the United Way. Thank you. I have one announcement this evening before we begin. That is, in order to give the freeholders an opportunity to meet with local community members and allow them to participate in our public meetings closer to home, I'd like to announce that the Freeholder Board will be holding its first 2016 Freeholder meeting on the road. Our first meeting on the road this year will be on March 9th, 7:30 p.m. in Emerson at the Emerson Council Chambers. This is our first announcement on this meeting. We will, of course, have more announcements and will be advertising well in advance to alert the county and the community of this change of location for the public meeting. The 4:30 work session on that day will be held as usual here in Hackensack in our caucus room. Will the clerk please read the minutes to be accepted?
January 6, 2016, a reorganization work session. Freeholder Gans absent. January 6, 2016, reorganization public session. Freeholder Gans absent. January 13, 2016, work session. All present. January 13, 2016, public session. All present. January 27th, 2016, work session. All present. January 27th, 2016, public session. Freeholders Felice and Gans absent.
Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
I abstain as to those in which I'm ineligible to vote.
Same here,
No-
Mr. Chairman.
Noted. Thank you, Freeholders. May I have a motion to open the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We will now have a hearing of the general public with a 3-minute time limit in effect. The board attorney will keep the time. When the time of the speaker expires, the timekeeper will announce the time has expired. Please fill out a card with your name, address, and general topic. Before we begin, I just want to make 2 quick announcements. I know people in the audience are here for specific reasons. One is an ordinance that we're introducing in first reading tonight in regards to the Ridgefield parking deck. BCI has Ridgewood parking deck, which the BCI has sent an ordinance for us to pass in first reading tonight, guaranteeing the bonding for that project. This board does not take a position on the merits of that project. The BCIA is our financial arm. There's a lot of things that the board has been brought up to speed on regarding the situation between the public and the village of Ridgewood. There's a petition going around. There's a chance that it'll be put on a ballot as a referendum question. There's also a chance that there's an ordinance passed by the village next week that may make this pretty much void. So we just want everyone to know that this board is not taking a position on the merits of the project. We're just moving our financial arm, which is BCIA, which bonds for schools, bonds for municipalities where they save money and at lower rates because of the AAA bond rating. So this is a step that we need to take to further the BCI's progress on this. So I just want to let everybody know, everybody will have their opportunity to speak on that. Also, an announcement on the open space, because there were some issues about some of the allocations for the open space. That as well, by us passing the resolution tonight, we're giving the Open Space Board the opportunity to publish a public hearing of each of those allocations. So I just want to let everybody know that before we begin public. So now public is now open. So Ann Loving.
It bends.
John, help us.
A-N-N-E. Ann Loving, Ridgewood, New Jersey. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Of course you can. Okay. Thank you very much for allowing me to come to speak tonight, and I understand that probably my words are, not even necessary, but I appreciate the ability to vent, so to speak. The guarantee ordinance for the BCIA Village of Ridgewood parking garage project that you're considering tonight, which is ordinance 16.3, is very controversial in our town. There was a non-binding referendum last November that many members of the public feel was quite misleading, and to that end, a number of people who voted for it felt that they were misled on what they were voting for. So now we have private citizens taking out very expensive advertisements in the newspaper with their own money for and against whether this project should be bonded by the county. Ridgewood is able to bond it itself, but we needed to have 4 votes of our elected officials, which would have been a supermajority, and only 3 voted. And immediately that same night, our mayor had it on the agenda, what many of us characterized as a circumnavigation of the supermajority rule, and immediately was able to get just a 3-person vote to go to the BCIA for the bond. Now there is, as Chairman Tonelli mentioned, there is a petition going around. This is not a casual petition. I am part of this grassroots movement, and there will be a binding referendum on the May ballot if need be. We have all our ducks in a row, and this would be to stop the bonding. We would like to be able to bond within Ridgewood. We feel that this is an in-house problem that we can solve ourselves, as Chairman Tonelli has learned from some of the Ridgewood officials. We're moving towards getting it resolved, and so thank you for letting me speak my piece. I understand that if you vote for it tonight, it doesn't make it a done deal, but much appreciated.
Thank you. Sorry, Donnie. Hopefully I didn't.
Good evening. S-A-U-R-A-D-H, Dani, D-A-N-I.
Thank you.
Honorable Freeholders of Bergen County, it is my understanding that the Bergen County Improvement Authority was chartered to assist municipalities who are unable to raise funds, significant capital funding themselves, or when it is more expensive for them to raise money because of their lower credit rating. In this instance, the Village of Ridgewood has AAA bond rating, and the comparison report created by BCIA's Bond Council demonstrates that Ridgewood taxpayers would save money if we bonded ourselves instead of bonding through BCIA. So clearly the Village of Ridgewood is not requesting BCIA to help with funds because it's going to be cost effective or because the village cannot do it on its own. Some members of our village council are requesting you to help with their own agenda and to circumnavigate a democratic process which is working so far and will eventually work if you do not interfere in that process. The proposed garage does not fit on the lot proposed for its construction. We all agree we need parking, but there is a significant disagreement over how many zoning rules should we break to put the garage. Although the village is not required to follow its own zoning rules, it seems extreme that several will be completely disregarded for the construction of the proposed garage. Some council members are okay with encroaching over the street and reducing the public roadway by half, and also constructing a building to a height that's never done since World War II in Ridgewood. Some council members and most residents want a moderately high building and less encroachment into the street. Most residents also want a garage that's appropriately sized for that lot. And there are some residents who steadfastly claim they never have trouble parking in Ridgewood and do not want any garage at all. We have been working on the design discussion, and we have enough council members to vote for a Ridgewood issued bond, provided you do not interfere in this process by helping some council members to shortcut their negotiation process at the municipal level. I'm attaching January 6th meeting minutes, where in the same meeting we had ordinances 3515 and 3519 on the agenda. The 3 council members had pressured to the other 2 council members that either you vote in favor of ordinance 3515 to self-bond tonight for the design that we are proposing, Or we have an alternative to go to BCIA with Ordinance 3519. Allowing this circumnavigation by you does not help in good faith efforts to compromise on design and make two council members irrelevant in this process. Local municipal law of Ridgewood requires supermajority to issue bond. If Ridgewood never tried this ordinance at local level, and if it never failed at local level, then probably you could have assumed that supermajority may exist in Ridgewood. Since the self-funding option was voted down on January 6th due to difference in design, if you agree to fund this project, you will be allowing circumnavigation of supermajority requirement of a bond.
3 minutes, Mr. Dunn.
Please wrap it up.
Okay. Please do not set this precedent. Please do not encourage circumnavigation of municipal law. Please do not participate in finding ways around the municipal laws. You are not issuing a bond that is connected to revenues generated from this garage. You are issuing a bond which puts Ridgewood taxpayers on the hook, and that should be done at local municipal level. Thank you very much for allowing extra time.
Thank you. Jacqueline Home?
Hi, Jacqueline Hone, Ridgewood, New Jersey. H-O-N-E. I was going to help Mr. Donnie finish his statement, but he got through it, so I'm going to thank you.
Very good.
Jim McCarthy? Okay, well, give him a chance. Chuck Powers?
Chuck Powers, TNEC. I'm not actually representing any organization tonight, but only myself. I listened very interestedly to your discussion this afternoon about the rise in healthcare costs. And you may remember that in a recent work session, I suggested that the way in which what you were doing in trying to control some of them might be really important to what actually was going on in municipalities which are struggling with this. What I listened to this afternoon suggested to me, I've been watching things in some discussions with state legislators as they are wrestling with certain changes in the pension law which may affect health issues and who is available, to whom they're available, particularly among public employees. Listen to you folks think about the county's particular problems and the sharp rise. In fact, you look at a $25 million commitment tonight. And also watching what has been happening in municipalities. And what I felt this afternoon was that there's not sufficient thought going into the interrelationship among all of those elements. Let me give you just one simple example. There are still about 18 townships or municipalities in the county who provide waivers or health care for part-time elected officials. And that number is dropping relatively quickly. But the waiver issue itself presents a kind of interesting issue. There are a lot of folks in Bergen County who don't have any health insurance. And what this program does has been encouraging people to not only take it in one place, but get a waiver from it in some other. What I think you ought to think about is whether or not your own framework for how your employees have opportunities to seek waivers in other situations may actually be encouraging your employees to take your insurance, because if they happen to be functioning in a state health benefits program situation, those folks are not allowed actually to jump out and find some other service. I think it's a very important set of conditions. I'm not suggesting I have a solution to this tonight, but I am saying that a very careful thought process. Watch what's going on in the state legislature. It's almost certain to happen within the next 6 months. Think about what's going on in municipalities, but particularly think about the waiver situation, because in my judgment, a public process that somehow benefits a public employee by being able to get compensated for a second health insurance while having opportunity to take it through their own place of employment is problematic. And that set of relationships, and I'm happy to think through with this issue with anyone who's interested in doing so, is an important set of issues. I think it might turn out that the county can save some money, but the taxpayer overall might really save some money, and we might actually have more money to deliver health care to those who most need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Joseph Dunsey?
Good evening. I'll start with some housekeeping. Several days ago, I was at the River Edge Environmental Commission meeting. Everyone there liked the idea of extending the Hackensack River Walk up to the border with Hackensack and River Edge, and Council Rep Murphy encouraged me to report that. I'll have to give more details at another meeting because something a bit more pressing came up at an On Our Own meeting a few days ago. It came to my attention that more people are being kicked out of the shelter on shaky grounds, and that led to a discussion at On Our Own, and we decided that it's important for a lot of the members to talk about their experiences. So as reluctant as I am to bring my personal life to the forum, I'd like to talk about what happened to me last spring. When you're a mad person, it only takes a phone call to have you locked up in a hospital for 2 weeks before you even get to see a judge or be told what the accusation is, why you got locked up. And it's possible for people to to abuse that route. And so as a result, sometimes you live in frequent fear of just having your rights violated like that. So last spring, one night, I was on my way home back to my mom's house, and I saw flashing lights on top of a vehicle at the bottom of the hill where her house is. And I just kind of panicked. I didn't even go down the block. I just made a right and went to the shelter because I figured at least that would be a safe place to spend the night. Well, I got there, and because I had been told by other people that, if you need a place, the shelter takes you in. Well, I got there and the receptionist said that there was no way I could be in. I figured, well, most places have a process for complaining if you don't like a decision. So I said I wanted to, follow the route for complaining, and she said there was no possibility. Well, it took some cajoling, but she finally called her supervisor, and I talked to the supervisor, and said my situation. And then things got much worse because the receptionist and the security guard decided to retaliate because I had filed a complaint. And the security guard actually said flat out, "You're in trouble now because you complained." And so I was rather distraught. The Bergen County Police were on their way. Fortunately, there was a social worker there on staff that night who was very good at her job. She heard my story, realized that it was a temporary situation and an actual need. So I stayed as a sit-up resident just that one night. And
3 minutes, Mr. Dunson.
sorry, but to make a long story short, there are some good people working at the shelter. There are some bad actors working at the shelter, and you have to keep a closer eye at things there.
Thank you. Michelle Talamo?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to bring something to your attention that I just found out about. So I did a little bit of research, so I hope it's adequate for discussion. I understand that HUD's affirmatively furthering fair housing is the federal government's broadest attack ever on property rights and home rule. AFFH is a decades-old term that HUD translated into a package of mandates governing how communities must use new grant money. Acceptance of funds through familiar programs such as CDBGs suddenly triggers the revised AFFH obligation. HUD now enforces their will on communities through its insidious assessment of fair housing. The lengthy survey establishes the basis for lawsuits fueled by special interest groups that pit community members against one another and the federal government. This chilling tactic allows HUD to take control of local zoning, reverse voters' decisions, and even annex your hometown into a region. Recently, HUD forced citizens of Rockland, Illinois, to abandon their vote to build 49 affordable housing units and instead accept 69 units. Neither the mayor nor the council nor the community wanted the larger number. It didn't matter. HUD struck like a sledgehammer. There have been many problems in Westchester as well related to this. Worse, once a community accepts the HUD funds, AFFH rules govern any monies they receive, public or private, that HUD concludes may affect fair housing or urban development. It's generally true that HUD grants have not changed, however, AFFH creates an additional layer of updated procedures and terms that sharply govern what you can and cannot do with the grant money. The term AFFH has been used for decades, but do not mistake that for the new rule, nor think that when accepting grant money it will be business as usual. Grants such as HUD's Community Development Block Grant contain many strict requirements that HUD has been lax about enforcing in prior years. That is changing. Simply completing the AFH leaves you obligated, even if you're not approved for the grant. In July 2003, HUD Secretary Sean Donovan made it clear that HUD would be stepping up the fair housing enforcement. And according to Law 360, HUD is setting the stage for false claims lawsuits against jurisdictions that fail to comply with the agency requirements. HUD charged more cases for legal violations in 2011 than in the preceding decade, and the number is increasing. The false claims liability stems from a certification recipients must sign to receive the funds. The recipient certifies they shall take no action that is materially inconsistent with its obligation to affirmatively further fair housing. However, to receive the fund, applicants must develop a plan that addresses each of the potential areas of discrimination to HUD's satisfaction, but not necessarily that of the community. Once a jurisdiction or public housing
3 minutes,
authority
Mr.
accepts a
Lamo.
new grant that affects fair housing or urban development, the agency uses the threat of lawsuits and forfeiture of the grant money to gain control of local zoning laws. HUD can then direct local official decisions and coerce the community to join a region. No one knows their town better than the officials in that town or county. Having the latitude to make the decisions for the community may be taken away if officials do not realize that HUD's coercion and high-handed methods are on the horizon. I share the information in the spirit of community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Beanstalk.
Claude Beanstalk, Fair Lawn. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. First, we need progress on the William Carlos Williams Center in Rutherford. We need a performing arts center. What should be done? I don't know. I don't have the answers. Can I talk about Ridgewood? I attend the council meetings in Ridgewood, even though I live in Fair Lawn. I'm trying to help the council and the public there to continue progress. I have to say a few words about Ridgewood. I worked there at the polls on election day. Ridgewood is a very lovely town, but it has a problem with parking. For over 75 years, parking has been a major problem in Ridgewood. Something has to be done. The people voted in Ridgewood to have a parking garage. What kind of parking garage or parking lot should be done? I don't have the answers. I'm not an engineer or an architect. How you help Ridgewood with the BCIA, I don't have the answers. That's up to you. Leaders have to make decisions. And whatever decisions you make, I'm sure the people of Ridgewood will go along with you. The council and the mayor of Ridgewood recognize that there's a problem. They wanted input from the public, and the majority of the public wants a garage. What type of garage, whether 3 stories or 4 stories or 2 stories, that's not up to me. That's up to the government in Ridgewood to make those decisions, and you. And if you want the BCIA to get involved, that might be a good decision. That's not up to me. That's up to you. But I'm just letting you know, from working in real estate salesman in Ridgewood, that Ridgewood has a definite parking problem, and something has to be done about it, because people cannot find a parking space in Ridgewood. Something has to be done. The times have to change, and you have to look to the future. So thank you for allowing me to say a few words. I hope I was of some help. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Irwin.
evening, everyone. Happy New Year. My name is James Irwin, 40 Jefferson Street, Hackensack, New Jersey. I'm just going to say this quick. ERWIN. For the record, I work for North Jersey Media Group, which is the parent company of the record, also the parent company of the Hackensack Chronicle. The Hackensack Chronicle does business with this county and this town, and I am the account executive for that entity. I am here on my own accord. It has nothing to do with my job. I'm here for personal reasons. When I was last here last year, I spoke about the tobacco issue as well as pedestrian deaths. So again, when I was last here, I spoke about pedestrian deaths in New Jersey, in this county, and about Tobacco 21, which is something that's near and dear to me. When I left that meeting and went home, I came home to some news that shook me, right? It changed my life. I came home to get a message from my aunt that her sister, my other aunt, had cancer and was going to be passing soon. That same aunt also told me that she was in an accident a couple of days before, and she was involved in a fatal accident. The car that she was in struck a young man, and the young man was killed. Now, I'm a very spiritual person, and it shook me to the core because I questioned what I was doing and why was I hearing this news upon coming from a meeting where I spoke about those two issues. So I had to get some counseling from one of the associate ministers at my church. I took from that I have been charged to go forward with this movement and take that movement to a whole nother level. I have to take it extremely seriously. I have to be armed with the equipment that I need in order for these issues to be addressed. So, long story short, because I know I have 3 minutes, I'm asking the county as a body, the county freeholders, yourself, the chairman, to look at passing legislation to raise the age to buy cigarettes and tobacco and nicotine products in Bergen County from 19 to 21. The movement did pass the legislature in the state, and we know that Governor Christie Pocket vetoed it. The legislation has also currently been reintroduced both in the Assembly and in the Senate. Pedestrian deaths, read the article that they were down 2% in New Jersey, and that's beautiful because they were up nationwide. And last week, a gentleman was struck and killed on Route 46.
3 minutes, Mr.
I know you're doing everything you can. I ask you to continue to do the efforts to bring that to light. Lastly, if I can get 30 more seconds, I'm also upon another initiative because I love people, right? There's a crisis going on in Flint, Michigan, and I, along with a partner who has had in surviving for breast cancer, we're going to have an initiative called Bergen for Flint, Bergen County for Flint, and we're going to produce a drive in the month of March to get necessary items for the people in Flint, Michigan during their disastrous water crisis. And I would just ask the county's support in that as well. So I'm going to be asking the towns, the city officials, houses of worship, business owners, and individuals to donate water, bottled water, formula, baby wipes. They have a serious issue with rashes. And we're going to be collecting those donations and taking them down to Flint on the 1st of April. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Motion to close.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Will clerk please read the resolutions on the consent agenda?
Resolutions on the consent agenda, 159-16 through 172-16, 174-16 through 190-16, and 192-16 through 195-16.
A motion?
So moved. Second.
Fielder Gaines,
Start over.
second. Fielder Di Nicola.
Freeholder Di Nicola, Yes. Freeholder Felice?
Yes.
Freeholder Gans?
Aye.
Freeholder Sullivan?
Yes.
Freeholder Voss?
Yes.
Freeholder Zor? Yes. Chairman Tinelli?
Yes. Are there any resolutions, non-consent pulled or tabled? If so, will the clerk please read them?
There is one, 191-16, which is a resolution authorizing Fourth Amendment to Professional Services Agreement awarded to Gilbane, Building Company, Inc., regarding New Jersey building parking deck.
Can I have a motion introduced?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Freeholder Di Nicola?
No.
Freeholder Felice?
Yes.
Freeholder Gans?
Aye.
Freeholder Sullivan?
Yes.
Freeholder Voss?
Yes.
Freeholder Zor?
Yes.
Chairman Tinelli?
Yes.
Resolution passes. There are two resolutions, other ones, one pulled, 173-16. That's it.
Okay. Introducing first reading of ordinance 16-3. Will the clerk please read the ordinance by title only?
Guarantee ordinance securing the Bergen County Improvement Authority's lease revenue bonds, Series 2016 Village of Ridgewood project in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $12,300,000.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Freeholder
Felice.
Felice is second?
Felice.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry. Freeholder Di Nicola?
Yes.
Freeholder Felice?
Yes.
Freeholder Gans?
Aye.
Freeholder Sullivan?
Yes.
Freeholder Voss?
Yes.
Freeholder Zor?
Yes.
Chairman Tinelli?
Yes.
Ordinance passes first reading.
Introduction, first reading of ordinance 16-4. Will the clerk please read the ordinance 16-4 by title only?
It's a bond ordinance of the County of Bergen appropriating $24,880,000 and authorizing the issuance of $23,650,000 in bonds or notes of the county to fund reserves for the County of Bergen Self-Insurance Fund.
Have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Before I call the roll, I'd like to give the floor to Freeholder Felice for a moment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know this is an exception for one to speak during the first reading, but I think it's very, very important for us as a body to recognize the rising healthcare costs and the impact of our employees and their families' health, as well as the exploding cost of this. And as a result of this being an example of those rising costs, that I would, through the chair, ask that I meet with the administration to talk about looking at disease state management and ways to not just save money, but to save the health and improve the health of the employees and the families of our great county. So I would like that to happen. The administrator, Mr. Novelli, I would like that to occur. So I look forward to my aide working with your office to schedule something.
Thank you, Freeholder.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Please
Chair.
call the roll.
Freeholder Di Nicola?
Yes.
Freeholder Felice?
Yes.
Freeholder Gans?
Abstain.
Abstain. So, Freeholder Sullivan?
Yes.
Freeholder Voss?
Yes.
Freeholder Zor?
Yes.
Chairman Tinelli?
Yes.
Ordinance passes first reading.
We'll now have the Freeholder Committee reports. Let's start with Freeholder Sullivan.
Thank you, Chairman Tinelli.
That didn't sound sincere.
I love them. Good evening, everyone. I'll be very brief. I just want to point a few things out here. This week, the Freeholder Board, tonight, we just approved the resolution 170-16, which will accept a matching grant from New Jersey Department of Human Services to Bergen County to provide the funding for 3 beds for our drug court program at Spring House. Spring House, as many know, is a halfway house for women who need assistance with substance abuse. Fighting the heroin epidemic with all my colleagues on this board and the county executive is very important to all of us. Heroin abuse affects all, and it's a growing problem, and we need to continue to support our county programs and the staff who are on the front lines of combating this terrible epidemic. Also this week, the Freeholder Board approved to accept grant money from Drunk Driving Enforcement Fund to help Sheriff Sardino and our Bergen County Sheriff's Office to keep our community safe. Lastly, I just want to point out that next week I will be participating, as most of our colleagues here will be, in the Read Across America throughout Bergen County to celebrate the life of Dr. Seuss. I know it's very near and dear to my colleague here, and it's great to get out and see the children and read literature and get them engaged in reading. I also look forward to, and if I don't say this on record, I won't be allowed home tonight. I look forward to going to my wife's school there in Bergenfield, as well as other schools throughout the county, to read to her second grade class and other classrooms in her school. So thank you for Chairman Tonelli, and that's my report.
Thank you, Freeholder.
Is that brief enough?
Boss?
Thank you, Chairman. February is Black History Month, and a couple of days ago we had a really wonderful program presented here in our meeting room. And the woman who was the keynote speaker taught us so many things that we didn't know. And if you get an opportunity, go out into the hall and see the exhibits, because those were the things that she was talking about. And to many of us, the information was very, very new. And so it was a wonderful program. As my colleague over here knows, I love teaching, and I had the opportunity to go to the academy last week and speak to some of the students there. Unfortunately, most of our schools do not really teach government anymore, and so I volunteer to go to anybody who wants me to talk about government, whether it's federal, state, local, municipal, because young people really need to have a better understanding of how government works so that they can participate in it. And it was a great experience, and I look forward to doing it again. Last Monday, many of us attended an interfaith breakfast at the Hilton in Hasbrook Heights. 8 major religions were represented there. It's the 30th anniversary of this breakfast, and each year it gets bigger and better, and it really does promote understanding between the various religions. And each year one of the major religions sponsors the program, and this year it was the Roman Catholic Church that was the sponsor. And again, very, very good speaker. March is Women's History Month, okay? And one of the things that I have tried to do throughout my career was to get more women involved in government. And I've heard all kinds of excuses, I'm too old and stuff like that. Believe me, ladies, you're never too old to get involved until you're 6 feet under. So, you know, keep going. This year, the theme for Women's History Month is Working to Form a More Perfect Union, Honoring Women in Public Service and Government. And every year, I try to have a program that I honor women who have been outstanding in terms of our county and our community. And I honored several people, many of whom are not in politics, but have done very, very good things. And I particularly want to mention Lisa, who is one of my honorees, who has done so many wonderful things for her community. And a lady that runs the animal shelter, and her name is Deb Yanko. And these are unsung heroes. You know, those of us who are in elective office get, you know, a lot of for what we do, but people who do great things sometimes don't. I just want to do, because I'm a history teacher and I have to do this, and it is Women's History Month. Less than 20% of the people in our federal government, House of Representatives and Senate, are women. Less than 20%. In New Jersey, we only have 1 female member of Congress out of 12 representatives. In the New Jersey legislature, less than 24% of the members are women. And New Jersey is a pretty progressive state. And this I found particularly interesting. You know that here in Bergen County, we have almost 600 towns. There are 562 mayors in Bergen County, in the state of New Jersey. Only 69 of those towns have a lady mayor. And here in our very progressive Bergen County, where we have 70 towns, only 7 towns have lady mayors. So my admonition to you is, we love men, don't get me wrong, but ladies, get out there and make your voices heard. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I look forward to getting the budget from the county executive. I look forward to replicating the schedule like we had last year, different dates, but the same format. I look forward to having a very transparent process by which the elected officials will pass through my office any questions to the administration so they could be answered beforehand. And I hope to get this process done in about 5 to 6 days, maybe 5 this time. I also look forward to being charged to be on the Bergen Regional Task Force to continue our efforts to shape the future for Bergen Regional, shape the future for our residents, and for the people outside of Bergen County, which many of those patients reside and live in. What we do in the next few months will really shape the future of healthcare in Bergen County for the people that need it most for the next 50 years. So I hope to continue in that process and to ask the tough questions and get the answers and move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder Dean Nicola?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to start with a few things that we touched on briefly in our public meeting, but as many of you know or may not know, before our 7:30 meeting, we have our 4:30 work meeting, and that's when all of the hard questions are asked and the real discussion takes place before our formal vote here this evening. And in regard to those two ordinances, we did all agree that as far as Ridgewood is concerned, they have a meeting next week. And hopefully we'll get some more information, but as the chairman had stated, as a governing body, we are giving our initial approval. The ordinance won't become law until the next time it comes up for a vote and it's adopted and there's a public hearing. We're giving our initial approval to lending or having Ridgewood use the Bergen County Improvement Authority as the agency for which they will borrow money to hopefully save money for Ridgewood. All of their application requirements are in place. So our vote is not on the merits of the project itself, but on that. And as to our second ordinance, the almost $25 million to help our reserve for the self-insurance fund, as we talked about briefly now and discussed during our work meeting, we are looking at exorbitant rises in costs to the county for health benefits. And we have a new risk manager now, and they're going to be performing 2 very, very important audits that hopefully will give us some information as to what exactly is going on. Our users and also what the reimbursements are for. And that should help us moving forward make better decisions about efficiencies, cost efficiencies in regard to benefits. I wanted to mention a couple of things that happened. I know freeholders who spoke before me talked about a lot of the great things that we did, the interfaith breakfast, the 200 Club reception. I don't know if anyone mentioned that. That was also held last week. I want to say too, I was in your fair city, Freeholder Gans, for the Knights of Pythias charity donation event, an excellent organization that raises tens of thousands of dollars and distributes it to worthy organizations both in their town supporting their emergency services and also other nonprofits to which many of their knights are connected. I was lucky enough to be asked to give, I'll say lucky enough, the trophies to the winners of the Community Options Cupid Chase 5K run. That was on February 13th, that Saturday, when it was negative degrees out there. And still, they had so many participants who came out early in the morning. They ran that 5K starting at the pool in Glen Rock. And in the end, after all the awards were given and I was walking back to my car, they still had the finish line with the balloons set up, and there was, I don't want to say an older woman, a more experienced woman who came across the finish line in feathers and all dressed up with a lot of warm layers as well. And we applauded her heartily. She was saying it was as if she was in that dream where you're running and running and you're not moving anywhere. And we offered to walk her to her car, but no, she had to stay there because she needed to wait for her husband. So shortly after that, he did come by and he finished as well. So it was a great thing. Also, Black History Month, as was said, and just this past week, I attended the Mental Health Advisory Board meeting. I know we're all going to be invited as elected officials to a roundtable, which was moved again to May. But I have to say, I've been to a number of their meetings. They are so well attended by all of the stakeholders, a lot of the providers throughout our county, and the Bergen County Division of Mental Health Services as well. There were a number of things that were discussed, in addition to the importance of getting us all together to talk about new legislation, new reimbursement, of course declining grant funding for programming as the need continues to grow. Because so importantly, we cannot forget that mental health very often is the source of the issues we find with a lot of other groups in our communities, our veterans, the drug addicted, and the homeless as well. What we're going to work on, and hopefully all of us together, is communication. Because there are a tremendous number of services out there, but not everybody knows what to go, who to call to find out what is offered where. We have 211, but similar to what we're doing, Freeholder Sullivan, with heroin addiction and all of these good people, these good programs, these nonprofits, in addition to Bergen County, sometimes work in silos, not purposefully, it just happens. So we want to create a much stronger network and build that fabric in the mental health community as well. We're doing great with stigma-free and acceptance, and now we need to move into the next phase, actually communicating and make those who need it aware of the treatment that is there. The last thing I wanted to mention is second grade. I taught for a long time. My favorite grade was second grade because they're still young enough that they believe you know all the answers, but they're just on the verge of taking off on their own because they are learning to read with more fluency. And that's why it'll be fun to read across America in Bergen County with my colleagues starting this Friday, actually, and I look forward to that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder. Freeholder Gans?
Thank you. I have a number of quick items to talk about. I've been away for 3 weeks, and unlike others who have seen feathers in a different context, the feathers that I saw were of king penguins and other penguins such as the gentoo and the emperor penguins. I was in Antarctica, the great unknown continent, and I came by way of Buenos Aires, Montevideo, Las Malvinas, or the Falkland Islands, and that brings me to a point that I want to just chat about for a moment. When the Falklands were invaded by the Argentinians, who call it the Malvinas Islands, the Argentinians planted more than 25,000 landmines that were all tagged and identified so that they could be cataloged and removed. Before the Argentinians left the island, they removed all the metal tags so that the mines that are presently there, 25,000 of them, are all in plastic, which can't be x-rayed and can't be found in any way other than doing it manually, mine by mine, minefield by minefield, bayonet by bayonet, inch by inch. Remarkably, this is what my son Scott did for the United States Army as a combat engineer. Just as hazardous for the people of Zimbabwe who have been imported into the Falklands to solve this problem as it is for the U.S. Army when our guys do it. I get a little bit emotional about this because it brings back memories of 3 years ago when my son was wounded and ultimately committed suicide as a result of the injuries that he sustained. But here is the two civilized countries in the world, and they had a war, they invaded the other, they sank a battleship and a destroyer, one each, and they left a present of 25,000 mines for the 8,000 people of the Falklands to deal with, and walked away. Okay. I think we should, at a minimum, express our outrage about it, and I haven't thought of what else we should do. Read Across America. I love Read Across America. I sit on the floor with the kids, and I read to them whatever books they have, and we do it. I first ask how many kids in the class speak Spanish. Inevitably, it's more than half. And I translate it as we're going along. So we do it in English and Spanish. And they get a kick out of the fact that other people besides them speak the Spanish language. I suggest that if any of you know Spanish or some Spanish, you can really get a rise out of your kids when you read Across America when you do that. Also, if you have a Dr. Seuss hat, it looks completely ridiculous, and they seem to think that's funny too. Black History Month. I was so pleased to be able to be here and hear the remarkable address that was before us. And Chairman, I want to make a suggestion. I think that these addresses are so good that we ought to film them and we ought to put them on the county website so that it can be shared with everybody that wants to look at it. And I just think I thought of it as I was sitting here tonight, and I thought that it would be a good idea. I hope you will send it to the right committee to look at, and that we can find a way to fund it this year. I want to also say that the Martin Luther King Birthday Committee is looking for an additional $40,000 in contributions from the public at large to finish off not the statue, which they raised $250,000 for, but the wall that has intends to have inscriptions on it. And I want to say that Dr. Arnold Brown called me this evening to tell me that he had gotten a contribution from John Hogan, who is our county clerk, and then he said to me, "And what are you giving?" And I wrote a check for $500, which I am sending to him tomorrow as my small contribution on a personal basis, not from re-election funds, to pay homage to a great man and a great project that we got involved in as a county and as freeholders. And it's a beautiful memorial. If you haven't seen it, please go out to Fairleigh Dickinson University. It's on the Hackensack side of the river, and it gives you a moment to pause and reflect on what this truly great man, who would have been 87 years old this year, also hard to believe. Okay. Now, one of the things that was mentioned a little bit earlier today, and this will be the last thing that I'll talk about tonight, is that it's necessary to repeat things for people to learn about it, and you have to tell them about it. That's why I talk about Bergen Wellness all the time. I talk about it because there are still people that don't know what a great program it is. It gives you the ability to use a card, which I have a copy of it here. Perhaps World Azure will be kind enough to hold it up.
That one or the?
No, either one. You can use this for your pets.
Thank you, Vanna.
You can you can use it
Spin the
for
wheel.
yourself. It gives you a discount on drugs that otherwise as many people can't afford. 30% discount for pets, 42% maximum for individuals. And this is the best part now for horses. You can use this for horses if you happen to have a cat that needs tuna flavored amoxicillin. You can have this brought to your pharmacy, the Glenrock Pharmacy pills, used by their own compounding method, complete with the tuna flavored amoxicillin, and you get a 30% discount on it, which is right off the top. More than $14 million has been saved by Bergen County residents who have used this, and I will tell you that former Freeholder McPherson took her mother for eyeglasses in Philadelphia, and she's been carrying the Bergen Wellness Card for 10 years and never had the opportunity to use it. She gave it, her mother picked a $2,800 hearing aid to be used, and she took out the card, gave it to the person, because this works at 55,000 pharmacies, Mr. Florio.
I was unaware of that. Amazingly, I was unaware of that.
And this is
Obviously, they've been paying attention.
Bernadette's mom bought this for $900 for a $2,800 hearing aid just by using the Bergen Wellness Card. There's nothing in it for the county. There's just everything in it for you. So I encourage you to sign up for it. You can get it at the website. We can all hold our hands up right now so that Frank can point to anybody. Let us know. I think you're getting the idea now. And you can do that, or you can go up to any freeholder and just say, Freeholder Felice keeps these, told me that I could use one, and you just ask for it, we'll give it to you, or you can go on the website and use it. So, as we now get into what is going to be a very intense period for us, I tell you that I look forward to your chairmanship, Freeholder Felice, and I'm delighted that you're going to make this a full contact sport.
I hope to.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Freeholder. Before you start, Freeholder, this side of the dais is very time heavy tonight. So I wouldn't dare possibly limit your time.
Chairman, I just want to say, I was at another event on Saturday night.
I yield my time
where
to
everybody was complaining about how long the speeches were. I gave the shortest speech of the night.
And made up for it tonight.
I did make up for it. I did. And what I said was, my whole speech, congratulations to the nominees. And I sat down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Freeholder Zor.
I can't believe I got to the end and no one has mentioned the State of the County address, which we were all at. And in that address, the county executive laid forth not only the accomplishments and highlighted so many of the things that we have been working on collaboratively, but also pointed to the directions that we're going to be going. As was set forth in that address, we have a lot of work ahead of us, but I think we're all very ready to roll up our sleeves and continue to move Bergen County forward. So one of the things that, being at the end of the line, all the events that everyone gets taken, but one of the things that we all do and we all deal with every single week that we don't often talk about on this dais is the casework that comes into our office. This week, for some reason, for me, seemed like a really super heavy casework week. And what that means is there are individuals who are having problems, whether it be with the homeless shelter or with their Medicaid benefits or food stamps or the different programs that the county administers. We as freeholders are all here to be your advocates, to help navigate those challenges, and I encourage anyone who's having any issues with whether it's a county agency, a state agency, reach out to us. We can help guide you in the right direction and perhaps help solve some of the problems that you're facing. One of the problems that we were facing that was addressed in the resolutions this week, addressed in Resolution 164, was the building of Friendship House, which is something that's very near and dear to my heart. Friendship House is a tremendous organization which is really on the forefront of highlighting the abilities of individuals with disabilities and making sure that they're getting the training and the skills and so that they can have not only just a productive day but meaningful work experiences. This was I'm very happy that we were able to give them this grant through the Community Development Block Grants so that they can continue to expand the programs that they provide to make sure that adults with disabilities continue to thrive within our community. And last but not least, I also went to Operation Goodie Bag, which was a tremendous thing for our veterans, where it took place in Paramus on right before Valentine's Day. They send notes and sweets to our soldiers. It was a wonderful thing to see the community outpouring to make sure that we're supporting our troops, which is something that we should also be doing every day. Thank you, Chairman. Shortest report of the night, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll yield to my
She's
freeholder.
going away on vacation after this.
Thank you, John.
Vacation, it's a working thing.
So, I'm gonna try and be quick. Tonight we passed Resolution 16516. I'm proud to say that we just awarded $300,000 for homeless disabled veteran housing project in Emerson, which will be used to build 14 units that will house homeless and/or disabled veterans. Bergen County Division of Community Development will serve as a pass-through with grant funding from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. The Emerson Veterans Supportive Housing Project is a partnership between Emerson American Legion, who owns the property, and the Bergen County Housing Authority, who will lease and operate the housing. Additionally, social services for the veterans that are eventually housed there will be provided by Catholic Charities Diocese of Newark. You hear a lot of repetitive things because we attend a lot of the things together, but the beauty of this is you're getting different points of view. So I also attended the 30th Annual Interfaith Brotherhood, and my take on it is now more than ever, religious communities need to come together, communicate, and share ideas and work together for peace and harmony. And nothing better to show up there on a morning, freezing cold out, and it was packed. I mean, full room, everybody's attention, guest speakers, people walking around the rooms to help communicate. Where this, I guess, was my fourth. Every year, I take a little bit more away from it because there's different people that actually run it. And lastly, last Thursday, we did celebrate Black History Month here, and Freeholder Gans actually read my mind. We did speak with Dr. Jeffries, and unfortunately, due to time restraints, she wasn't able to give her full presentation. But I can tell you, in the speeded up, abbreviated version, it was absolutely amazing, the correlation between art and artifacts all over the globe. How different cultures have used them for different messaging, and how one fed off another. So we had Freeholder Zor and I had spoken to her and asked her if we could arrange to have her come back and give her full presentation, which I would very much like to video and put up on our website so people could actually see it. Very, very informative. It tells us where we came from, helps us understand what people, and I'm not going to say struggles, but what people did to communicate, because we didn't always have the communication opportunities that we have now available to us. So that concludes my report. I just want to close by just thanking our camera operators tonight, Jessica Schlimler and Gina Chung. Thank you so much. It's such a great program, and this Freeholder Board is very appreciative of your time and efforts. So that being said, with no further business before this board, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Johnny boy.